Hi guys, it was a little while ago that I did my glove roundup and I thought it would be a good time to check in with you guys and show you how these gloves are faring after many hundreds of hours of sim racing. So let's see how these two pairs are faring, shall we? So the gloves that I predominantly used over the last year were the Alpinestars F-lites and the OMP KS-4s. Now, I loved the F-lites during the roundup. They're very lightweight and that's been great over the summer period. For the other seasons and when I've needed a little bit more protection, I've been using the OMP KS-4s. It was an easy choice to be using these gloves because they fared very well during my glove roundup that I did at the end of 2020. Now, of course, I've changed steering wheels and even the material on some of my wheels in that time. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about how these gloves have fared regarding the materials that I've used on the wheels. And of course, whether they've actually stood up to the punishment of all the miles that I've put in. So let's start by looking at how the F-lites are faring. These are very lightweight gloves. And one of the cheapest pairs that I happened to be reviewing in the roundup. Quite honestly, I was expecting these to fall apart within a few weeks of use. However, as you can see, they are still in one piece after all this time. That isn't to say they aren't showing signs of wear, quite the opposite in fact. You can see some very heavy bobbling on the palms, and whilst the seams themselves aren't splitting, the material is wearing very thin around where the thumbs are. But the gloves are still usable, and remember this is after having to wash them quite frequently. One unexpected feature of these gloves is that they work on almost any of the materials used for steering wheels. So they work very well on suede, they work very well on Alcantara, on vented and smooth leather as well as textured leather. They even work really well on faux leather. I'd even go as far to say that these gloves are probably the best of the two sets when it comes to the variety of materials that they offer grip on. I can't imagine these gloves are going to be lasting me much longer. I can get my little finger into the gap that is now present between my finger and thumb. But maybe that's a good excuse to do a glove roundup later in the year. The OMP KS-4s were arguably the best looking gloves that I reviewed in my roundup. But sadly, the passage of time has made them lose some of their luster. They have, however, stood up very well when it comes to wear. Whilst some of the stitching has started to fail in places, I think that's more of a manufacturing fault because it's only on the one glove in a certain place. I don't think this is an indication of wear, more of a problem with manufacture. And that might be something to look out for when you buy these gloves. Again, as I've been reviewing different wheels and different materials on wheels, I've been able to test out how these gloves fare with those particular surfaces. These gloves do struggle a little bit on more slippery surfaces like faux leather, but I've been impressed with how they feel with their road holding with suede, Alcantara, vented leather, and even textured leather that you might see common on the Fanatec wheels. How they handle suede has pretty much made these my glove of choice when it comes to using them with suede or Alcantara wheels. The leather palm used on these gloves is very hard wearing, and it also resists any kind of sweat smells that you might build up on synthetic materials. However, that also causes us a few problems because these gloves are not machine washable. So after a year, there's still no sign of odor. However, having to dry clean these is going to be a royal pain. I imagine those that haven't read the instructions will probably throw them into the washing machine and destroy them. Still, these gloves are showing little sign of slowing down over time, and whilst I do need to repair some of the stitching, I imagine I'll be able to use these gloves for the majority of my racing this year. If you're only using fabrics like Alcantara or suede, then I would say without a doubt go for the OMP KS-4s. They will last you a very long time, and they definitely protect you from the nasty smells that you might be getting if you go gloveless with these materials. They also offer a fantastic level of grip for that particular surface. They're also great for vented or textured leather. However, I wouldn't recommend them if you're using faux leather or any surface that doesn't offer traction against leather. The Alpinestars F-lites that we have here are fantastic across all different wheel surfaces. I haven't found a wheel surface that they don't work well on. And they're very thin, so they're great for being able to feel around your wheel, especially in VR. They're thin, but they still offer a little shock protection when things get a little rough. They wash well, which is great because the synthetic material that is used on these gloves is going to smell up pretty quickly. Having said that, these gloves are a godsend in the summer months. Their lightweight nature means that they wick away a lot of sweat whilst they do still absorb some. They keep your hands comfortable even when the mercury starts to climb. And quite honestly, the KS-4s, for me at least, get a little too warm in the summer months. So it's that time of the episode that I leave you with some parting thoughts. Both sets of these gloves offer great value for money. I've racked up well over 500 hours with these gloves, and they're still standing pretty strong. Now, gloves are very optional when it comes to leather wheels, but when you're using suede or Alcantara, I would say they're almost a necessity just so you protect your rims from your sweat glands and keep the value in those rims. It is obviously a lot easier to replace a cheap set of gloves than it is to replace a free $400 rim. Now, whatever your reason for wearing gloves, whether it's immersion, whether it's to protect your wheel material, you can't go wrong with either pair that I've shown you today. I didn't think that the F-lites would stand the test of time. They proved me wrong. And the KS-4s have been just a joy to work with. Feel of the KS-4s and their look just give you that authentic driving experience. But their heavy nature in the summer months means they might not be suitable when things get a bit warm. The F-lites will probably need replacing sooner than the KS-4s, but if you can get a year out of a £20 set of gloves, I think you're doing quite well. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed looking back to see how these gloves have fared over the last year, especially as we did that roundup in the end of 2020. And if you have enjoyed this and you use gloves yourself, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on how your gloves are faring, and maybe a little bit about why you wear gloves yourself. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel to see more of this kind of content. Okay guys, I'm going to leave you now. So goodbye and until next time.